Hey, I'm Deidre Detterman, host of the Do It My Way podcast, where we empower women business owners and CEOs to do business on their terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. I'm obsessed with all things marketing. I started my career in television, and I remember sitting in countless meetings, listening to executives talk about things that needed to change, but they never did. I was always thinking, what if we did it my way? Once I became an entrepreneur and I started living life on my terms, working the hours I want to work, making the money I want to make, I started to feel success. I was finally in control of my destiny. I hope you will join me on this journey discovering how you can do it your way. You're not going to want to miss my next guest, Chef Shannon. She has traveled the world. She's cooked in over 50 countries, and she has turned her passion into a business. Don't miss it, coming up next. Well, Shannon, I am so excited to have you on the podcast. The only thing I wish we were doing is we were in a kitchen and you were actually cooking and we were talking. So we might have to do that next.
We have to do that. That's my where I'm the most comfortable. So definitely we need to cook together.
Okay, good.
Or let me cook for you.
I love that. I can't wait for that. So, okay, you have never worked in a restaurant, but you are known as a chef all over the world and been to so many countries. What, 50 countries?
I just went to my 54th
Oh my
country.
goodness.
Yeah.
So tell me, how did you get into cooking? Like, where did this come from?
Well, I got a degree in home economics in college, which is actually, it's kind of coming back now. But back in the 80s, it was a homemaking degree because I loved to play house when I was a kid, but mostly I loved to sew. And that's where I started this love of kind of being domestic was by sewing. And I learned to cook a little bit. My mother was not a great cook. My grandmothers didn't cook. And I grew up again in the 80s, 70s with canned food.
TV dinners were coming out.
TV dinners, those little Stouffer's pot pies. And it was great, but that's really all I knew, that and, food at school. And when I went to college, I kind of started learning, I had to take certain cooking classes and nutrition classes, but that wasn't my biggest interest. It was the sewing. So cooking didn't come until many years, 15 years later.
Oh, wow.
Because I had a sewing career for all that time.
Okay, so tell me about sewing, because what were you sewing? Were you sewing curtains for people? Were you making clothes? What were you doing?
Well, when I started as a little girl on my mother's sewing machine making Barbie clothes and doll clothes. And then I started making my own clothes. And I had the best high school home ec teacher ever. And I had her all 4 years of high school. I went to Tuttle High School in Oklahoma. And she taught me how to sew. And my mother did too. But so eventually after, I actually went to graduate school at OSU and studied design and moved to Tulsa and started a business making clothing for women all over Tulsa.
Okay, I
ball
love
gowns
that.
I made 500 bridesmaids dresses in my career.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to find like the perfect, you have in your mind your bridesmaid dress. I want it to be this color. And back then you couldn't just go on Instagram and find these things.
Back then, I think everybody had their bridesmaids dresses made.
Right.
And
My mom made mine.
My niche was to make bridesmaids dresses. And then I had a drapery workroom. So I was making draperies and bedding and all of those things. I did that for a long time, and I got burned out.
Into interior design as well, or they would come to you with the idea and you would say,
Right.
okay, I can do it.
Yeah. I worked for the interior designers.
I don't want my mom to hear this because she was an avid sewer and made like my bedding, curtains, made my prom dresses, made my bridesmaid dresses. And she tried to get me to learn it takes a special person. I don't have that little tedious, I don't have patience for that.
It takes a lot of practice, and it's difficult to teach. I don't really enjoy teaching. So I never did until recently. If we get into that, I just recently started some projects teaching sewing again. And I haven't sewn in 20 years. but it's kind of coming back full circle.
Well, and the funny thing, you said like domestic, like when you were in college and high school, you know, people wanted to be homemakers, right? Like you wanted to cook and stay at home and make your clothes and all of that. Then it's kind of like all the women were going to work and everybody wanted a job and making money and you're eating fast food and TV dinners. And now it's kind of coming back around, like homesteading.
So the college where I went in Edmond, I was the last home economics degree that was given. After that, even at Oklahoma State.
I didn't realize that. They don't even offer it.
Well, they do now.
Okay.
But back then they were dividing it into interior design, child development, nutrition, travel and tourism. So they were dividing it where it wasn't just one degree of home economics where you were learning all of it.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. I love that. Okay. So sewing took off and then the cooking started to come.
Well, what I did, it actually was a turn in my life where I started the cooking because I wanted a divorce. I'd been married for 10 years and I had 2 very young children. And for many reasons, I wanted a divorce. And my attorney said, Shannon, if you want sole custody of your children, you've got to prove to the judge that you can support them.
Yes.
And I was this is back, in the early 90s, I was taking cash and checks and I wasn't keeping records. And so I couldn't prove I had an income.
Right.
So I got offered a job with a nonprofit here in Tulsa teaching underserved kids how to cook.
Oh,
and,
I
didn't have a lot of training. I mean, I'd taken a few classes and, during those sewing years, I wasn't cooking a lot because I was working 16-hour days. And so there was an apartment complex that was state funded. And I was told that half of the residents were Russian and half were Black and that they did not get along. And so they said, we have this empty apartment that you can come after school and the kids will come and you need to teach them basic cooking and nutrition. Most of them were on food stamps. So teach them how to cook with that food and then feed them. So I did that for a couple of years. And a lot of things happened. It was very transformative for me because I loved to teach, I realized, and I loved to cook. But also I saw these kids who didn't get along typically before me, but they were cooking together and they were eating together and they're friends. And even after I would leave, they were still playing together. And it was a very important lesson to me about how food brings people together. So I thought, this is what I want to do, but I need to learn to cook.
Right.
And I was pretty good at the teaching part, but
because at that point you're not cooking stuff that's in the cookbook, right? It's not gourmet. It's not. It's just like
it was very
simple,
basic, eggs and potatoes.
Right.
I remember taking a little portable grill, and we sat outside the apartment, and I taught them how to grill. And it was just so much fun for me. So I found a cooking school here in Tulsa, and it was a night school. And I went to that school for 2 years and gained this confidence and just loved it. And that's how it all began.
Okay, that is such a great story. And those kids, I'm sure you were a mentor to them and forever changed their life, starting that way, learning to cook. Maybe they've gone on and become chefs. You never know.
Well, there are 2 of those kids who I've actually been in contact with who did say they remember it and it did impact them.
Oh, I'm sure.
I started teaching out of my home also to practice, the cooking. And I taught a group of homeschooled girls. There were about 10 of them. And they came to my home every month for 2 years. And I remember there were 2 sisters and, their moms made them come.
Right.
And one of them was very eager and the other one was not. And she was the older one. And she was standing in the back of my kitchen with her arms folded and she would roll her eyes,
Yeah.
And after probably about a year, her mom told me at Christmas, she said, you won't believe this. She said, and I can't remember that daughter's name. She said, all she wants for Christmas is cookbooks. And
That's
I knew
so
that there
great.
was some turn with her, that she decided not to be rebellious and that she was enjoying it. So, and then there was another girl who actually went to culinary school and became a chef in Maine.
Oh, that's
So
great.
I say that because I do feel like I hope that I had that impact on them. And, it gives me just as much pleasure knowing that I helped them as it did for them.
And I think kids need to be involved in something or they get in trouble. I mean, I always told my kids, I don't care what you do. Like, you don't have to play sports like we did growing up. Whatever you love, get into it, because I think that you have to have something you're passionate about and that you have a purpose. You get up and maybe that was bringing them purpose at a time. She was obviously coming in angry for whatever reason, probably just teenage hormones, but you really impacted their lives. So that's a fun story. Okay, so when did you get into like the gourmet? I mean, I'm looking through this cookbook, which we'll talk about, and there are so many amazing recipes in there and just gorgeous pictures. So what got you into more of that?
Well, I remarried, and that husband, Phil, was a world traveler. And I had only been abroad during a college study abroad semester. And I fell in love with travel, but I didn't get to do it again for 15 years when I met Phil. So he started taking me around the world, and we were going to these wonderful places, but we were doing what typical tourists do, which is, the monuments and the museums and all that. But I was already learning how to cook, and so my interest was more about the food. But I'm a very curious person, and I'm very relationship driven. And I wanted to meet people that lived in these places, and I wanted to hear their stories, and I wanted them to teach me. And so over a course of a lot of trips and a lot of research and question asking, I found people around the world who would teach me and bring me into their homes or bring me into their restaurant kitchens. And so I started writing stories, and I created a website where I would write stories about these places, and I would share the recipes that I had learned in those places. And so over 20 years, in a lot of countries, 54 countries. Italy, I've been 40 plus times.
Oh, I love Italy.
Yeah, it's my favorite place.
Yes.
But I've learned a lot. And so I was bringing it back to Tulsa and teaching it in cooking classes, but I also started cooking these, what I call experiential dinners. And eventually it turned into a book. But that's how it just developed slowly over the years. It was just a lot of people sharing things with me, and then me in turn trying to share it with people here in Tulsa. And then also in my travels, I've been able to share a lot of what I've learned.
Well, to be able to do something you love and make money at it is the ultimate goal, right? And we were talking earlier, do it my way is being able to call your own shots. And that's not in an 8-to-5 job. That is being an entrepreneur, doing what you love, working whenever you want to work. And, I can tell you love what you do by talking about it, right? You've got to go on these amazing trips, meet these amazing people. So coming back to that, what's your advice for someone out there that's like, you know what? I wanted to get into cooking. I want to get into, starting my own thing. Where do they start?
We all have things that we're passionate about. We all have skills, it might, or things that just give us joy. So I like to tell people, for one thing, be curious and pay attention. Pay attention to what interests you. It might be reading, it might be gardening, it might be teaching. Just increase your knowledge about those things and then share it with other people. Go to a school and volunteer, and eventually you get better, and you might even find new things that interest you that you can tag onto it, or sometimes replace it, like that with the sewing. The cooking replaced that. But I still had that skill, and I can talk later about how that came back. But really, my biggest advice is to just stay aware and always be looking for opportunities.
Because there are opportunities everywhere.
Everywhere.
And if you can solve a problem or bring get people out of pain or bring them pleasure, which you're bringing people pleasure. Food is pleasure, right? Yeah. And who doesn't love gathering around with friends and having drinks and having amazing food? I mean, all of my favorite memories when I think of my friends or my family at the holidays, it's centered around food, right? Yeah. We're eating, we're cooking together, we're having some wine, that's such a great way to bond, or with your kids. I'm not a gourmet cook by any means, but I loved cooking with my kids. And every Sunday we have the kids come when they're home from college, but like in the summers, my mom comes over and someone picks what we're going to eat. Okay, we're doing Italian tonight. And then everyone has a certain thing. You're doing the appetizer, you're doing the dessert, you're doing the main meal, and we all cook together. And those are some of my favorite memories.
And that's in every culture in the world. That's since the beginning of time. People have been communing together around a table with food. It's historically a way for people to bond.
So tell me this. Let's just say you're going to Italy, you're going to a country where you don't know anyone, and you want to find someone that's going to help you cook. Like, how do you go about that? Like, I don't are you calling a restaurant? Are you going on Instagram? Like, how do you find these people?
That's a great question. And there's not one answer to that. In the beginning, back when I told you I was traveling with my then husband and wanting to meet people, that was different because that was in the early 2000s, late 1990s, and it wasn't a big trend at that time to just get on the internet and find someone in Italy to teach you to cook. It wasn't a trend yet. And so I had to really search. And there's a whole story about how I found this woman, Diane Seed, in Rome that taught me. And I just got my confidence to just start asking people. And it's amazing how, because again, I said I'm curious. So I'm always, when I meet people, I ask, do you know where I can, could you teach me how to make this? And no one says, really, hardly anyone says no. Or I'll ask, do you know someone that can teach me this? The chapter on Mexico is unique to me because I was actually having a massage in Mexico. It was right at the end of the pandemic. And I asked my massage therapist, I said, do you know anyone who could teach me how to cook from this region? And he said, I don't, but give me your number and I'll reach out if I think of someone. And 2 weeks later, he did. He sent me a text and he said, there's a woman who has written a cookbook. She teaches from the state of Nayarit in Mexico. And maybe here's her number. He said, I've never met her, but someone gave me her number. 3 months later, I met Alondra back in Mexico. We cooked together for 4 days, became best friends, and we've met many times. She introduced me to her friend Paco in Mexico City, who I have traveled with to probably 10 different trips.
Oh, my goodness.
He's a culinary guide. And so I say that because I just asked a question.
Right.
And then I asked her, and then I showed interest in her state of Nayarit and her stories. And I think that's what people love, knowing that I care. And that makes them want to give me even more information. Because I genuinely do care, and I do care about people, and I care about their stories. And then I take those stories and try to share them also.
Well, and that's what's different about your business and the cookbook. We, as a marketer, stories sell. And that's what I always tell my clients, stories sell. They want to know the story behind. It's not just a sales pitch, And so the fact that you've got these amazing recipes, but you have the story behind it.
Right.
And so it's even more special with that. And the other thing that stands out to me is really you have mentors all over the world because you sought these people out. They're mentors, right? They're teaching you how to cook and they're from their culture and all of that. And now you're turning around teaching other people. That's what we do in business all the time. I always tell people, look for a mentor. Who can mentor you? Who can coach you? If you can't afford a coach, is there someone that you could spend the day with? And, I tell people that all the time. My daughter's looking for a job, graduating from college. And I say, ask to shadow. Ask to shadow at that company that you want to work at. See if you like it. You're coming for free. You're just a fly on the wall. You're trying to see what they do. They get to know you, and then maybe they'll open a door. And that's exactly, it sounds like what you have done, which is admirable.
It is, and your daughter, to do that, just them knowing that she cares and that she is interested in what they're doing. hopefully will make them want to invest in her, whether it's offering her a job or giving her an opportunity. And that's what I tell people. You have to be genuinely interested, and people will share things that are very valuable.
And it sounds like you've made amazing friends along the way.
I have. I made some incredible friends. I mention 80 people in the book, 80 names.
That's a lot.
And I don't tell all of their stories, but I actually went through and counted how many names that I had mentioned. And I was really astounded when it was the number 80. But that's how many people influenced me and impacted me, including my grandmothers who didn't cook, but in their own way did impact, my career and my life choices.
And now you cook in your home. And so you bring all of these 54 countries and 80 people that you've met with back to influence you, through your cooking. Mm-hmm. So tell me about your home dinners.
About 10 years ago, I started putting on what I call experiential dinners at my house. I live in Tulsa, and I have created a really great space in my home that is like a homey restaurant, if you will. And so I design them around a theme from a place from where I've been. So it might be like Monday, I'm doing a night in Greece. It might be a night in Mexico, a taste of Morocco. It's always somewhere where I have been and where I have cooked. The most popular one, or maybe the one that I offer, one I offer most for like charity dinners and things, is called Around the World Dinner. So that would be 5 or 6 courses, and each course is from a different place in the world.
Oh, that's awesome.
But the experience is that they come and the tables are decorated with that theme, flowers, and I collect textiles and from those places, so they're on the tables. But between each course, I'm telling a story. It might be about the food, or it might be the person that taught me, or the ingredients, or the technique. And, I bring a lot of tools and spices back, so it's show and tell for me.
Yeah.
And so people hopefully leave having had a delicious meal, and often things they've never tasted or maybe thought they didn't even like, which is my favorite when they say, I don't like curry.
Right.
And then they eat my Indian food and they say, I love your curry.
Right.
But hopefully they leave feeling like they were at that place, or at least want to go to that place.
So it's a chance to learn and meet new friends, because you were saying you could have 25 people in a dinner in your house, but it might be a couple from here, their friends, like everyone's just coming together and doing the experience together.
That's been one of the most remarkable things that I've learned from doing these dinners, or putting on these dinners, is the connections that have been made. And I wish I had, and I should start documenting the connections that I know about, because there have been people hired around my table. There have been relationships started, many friendships. I can't tell you how many business cards are exchanged, texts, phone numbers are exchanged. It is incredible. And I mean, I have a lot of people come by themselves,
right,
who don't know, they're not going to know anyone.
Right.
And everyone embraces them. And it's just, that's one of my favorite parts of doing this.
You're
is
connecting
watching
people.
Yeah.
Through food, right?
Right.
And through learning about other cultures, which is great. So what is your favorite thing to cook?
I don't have a favorite thing to cook. It's whatever and I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's what I'm cooking that day. For example, like I said, Monday night I'm cooking a Greek dinner. So right now it's Greek food. It's my favorite thing. I do go to Italy a lot, as I mentioned, but it's not my favorite cuisine to cook. And
seems hard.
It's
like homemade
not hard.
Noodles, and
it's time. The pasta part is time consuming, and I don't mind that. But it doesn't taste the same. When you're in Italy,
right,
it's not just the food, but it's the ingredients,
right,
and the freshness of it. You can't.
They're growing in their garden.
The cheese, it's not the same here, and then of course you have the ambiance of Italy. So it's just when you're eating it, at your table, it's just not the same. I cook Italian food, and I do cook Italian dinners. I particularly love Sicilian food, so I put on Sicilian dinners, but it's not the same. Indian food, however, I just got back from India. It was my 4th trip, and I will say I make extraordinary Indian
And I don't
food.
even think I like Indian food. I'm one of those that's like, do I like that? I don't know.
You will. I mean,
yeah.
I make very good Indian food.
That is fun. Well, it's funny. My mom and daughter and I went to Italy last May. It was the first time I've ever been to Europe and done anything like that. We had the absolute best trip ever, and it really was around food. We looked at the places that we wanted to go, and I wish we would have taken a cooking class because we almost did and we didn't. But just to experience, the food there, and I remember in one restaurant they had, the garden was outside, and so there's fresh basil and rosemary and anything, oregano, all of that is just growing,
right?
And they would chop it, bring it in, cook it, all the sauces homemade. And if I go to an Italian restaurant here, I am definitely, because I eat super clean regularly. So if I leave, I'm feeling that for several days. Like it's heavy. It doesn't sit well.
Did you feel it in Italy?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I felt amazing.
Yeah.
I'm drinking wine every night, and I don't even drink that much. I'm drinking wine every night with my meals. I'm eating pasta. I'm eating bread. I'm eating everything heavy. And I felt great. Wake up, not bloated, feel great. You're like, it's the ingredients.
It is the ingredients.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. I'm pretty picky about Italian food in the U.S. and really picky about pizza.
Right.
Really, I don't order a lot of Italian food or pizza in the U.S. We have some great a couple of really good pizzerias here in Tulsa, but
well, what's your favorite restaurant in Tulsa?
Oh, that's
or nobody is up to the standard. It's like my house.
Oh, no, I have many favorites in Tulsa. I love Oren. I love
really
mahogany. I love a good Mexican, authentic Mexican the food trucks.
Yes,
I love a good street taco.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of great restaurants in Tulsa.
Is it hard for you to go and just enjoy without nitpicking? Like you're like,
not at all. I'm not that picky.
Yeah.
For one thing, I understand, what goes into preparing food in a restaurant.
And massive,
yes.
like 100 people in one night or 200 people or whatever.
I'm actually more particular about service. If I get bad service, it's for me, it kind of ruins my experience.
Agreed.
If I get great service and mediocre food, it's a good time.
Okay, let's say you're at your house, you just came home from a trip, you're super tired, and you need to cook something and you're just by yourself. What are you going to cook?
Salad.
Okay.
I'll tell you, nearly every trip, particularly India or Mexico, where they don't eat a lot of salad, the first thing I want is salad.
Like
and I
fresh,
make great salad. That's one of my things, is salad. And so I always have 2 or 3 different lettuces in my fridge, and I can throw together a lot of things. There's a recipe on my website called chopped salad with dukkha.
Okay.
So dukkha,
I don't know what that is.
Dukkha is it's Egyptian, and it's nuts and seeds mixed with olive oil and different spices, and you toast it. So it makes
healthy.
And it could be any type of nut and many different types of seeds. So it's not just one recipe. Mine I generally make with almonds and sesame seeds, and then coriander, cumin, a little sumac, and I toast it with olive oil, and it's just this delicious nut mixture, and I put it on my salads.
And it makes the difference.
It does. It makes a huge difference. So it's always in my fridge. I always have that already made in a jar in my fridge.
So you just toast it and then keep it cold and then just put it on the salad?
It lasts for weeks in the fridge. So that's,
I love salads.
It's kind of a meal prep, but so that recipe's, and I'm probably my most popular salad.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Salad.
What about your dressing? What is your go-to dressing on salad?
Well, olive oil.
Okay.
That's my favorite. That is my go-to.
Like a good olive oil.
Really good olive oil. I actually sell and import 2 olive oils. One is from Puglia in the south of Italy, and the other's from Sicily. And I've actually I know the producers and have helped harvest anything that I sell, because I have a store on my website. Anything I sell has to be something that has been curated, where I was there, I know the artist, or it was a shop where I did, picked everything out and know the origin of it. And so these two olive oil and salt is the best dressing on a salad, in my opinion.
That's healthy too. That's like great healthy.
As long as it's cold pressed olive oil, it's very healthy.
Okay, so I can't wait to see what else is on your website that you can buy. Like you can buy tickets to the dinners.
Tickets to the dinners, my cookbook, of course. The olive oil, I sell these beautiful ceramic colanders that are made here in Tulsa. I sell cashmere scarves that I brought back from India. There's lots of things. I sell beautiful pottery from Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I have a lot of different things on there that it's been a lot of fun.
How fun. Okay, what is your website?
chefshannon.com.
Okay. And then let's just say 5 years from now. Are we still traveling? Are we still going to different countries? Do you have countries you haven't been to that you're dying to go? What's next?
The list is very short on countries. So I want to go to Singapore just because I'm interested, and I am going to go in the fall. Thailand I have not been to, so I'd like to go there. As far as what's going to happen, I do a lot of work in philanthropy. I have a foundation, the Shannon Smith Charitable Foundation, and so I want to work more with that, empowering women and children that want to either start a business or go into culinary school. I work with microfinance organizations helping women in third world countries to get loans to start their own businesses. And
that's incredible.
I just worked on a project in India, working in a homeless shelter, teaching women sewing, because to get back to that, they asked me to teach sewing, so I taught them hand sewing. I've also done that in Dominican Republic and Rwanda. I support a school in Rwanda. So there are a lot of projects like that I spend as much time as I can, but I would say in the next 5 years, I want to spend more time on that and finding those opportunities. There are local charities here in Tulsa that I feel strongly about. Global Gardens, I'm starting to work with them, teaching children in public schools who have gardens. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not the best gardener, but I can teach them how to prepare the food that they're growing.
Right.
And so those are the kind of projects I want to be more intentional about.
And the nonprofit, it's for people that want to go to culinary school. It's giving like scholarships, or what is the main?
Scholarship.
Okay.
Yeah, scholarships. You know, I'm the Oklahoma OSUIT in Okmulgee has a wonderful culinary school.
I've heard that.
And I've worked with them. I'm on one of their boards. And there are kids, you know, particularly in rural communities that want to go to technical school. I'm a big fan of tech school. And and they have such a great culinary program. And a lot of these kids, you know, they're looking for grants and they're looking for scholarships and they're not readily available. So that's something I want to help with.
That's great. You're doing so many great things. So thank you for what you're doing for women, empowering women and children in other countries, here, mentoring. That's really what we're all about. So I'm inspired by you, and I can't wait to eat what you cook.
Good. I can't wait. First of all, I can't wait to feed you.
I'm excited about that. And so you do, like, let's just say there's birthday parties. Like I have a couple of birthday parties coming up, friends that have big birthdays coming up. So you could also get you privately.
Yes, I do a lot of private events, anniversary parties, a lot of corporate. At Christmas time, I'm just booked through December. A lot of companies have their company parties at my house, and it's a lot of fun. It's an experience different from being in a restaurant because you're the only ones there. And you get to choose the menu and work with me on the menu, and it's a home experience, and it's all decorated for Christmas. But throughout the year, I host a lot of different groups.
And you do all the cooking.
I do all the cooking.
You have a team that kind of does serving.
I have a team that helps me set the tables and clean and serve, but the cooking is all me. People think I have this team of sous chefs, and I don't. I do it all.
So when's your cooking show coming out? Because I see a cooking show in the future.
That's not in my. That's not a goal for me. It really isn't. I love doing cooking videos. TikTok and a little bit of YouTube, and Instagram, Chef Shannon Smith. But I don't. That's not a goal for me to have a show.
Today, that is a show. YouTube
That's true.
and
You're
Instagram.
right.
I mean,
It's
that is
true.
a show. It's
Yeah.
like if you ask my kids, I remember my daughter going to college and I was like, oh, we'll get you a big TV. And she's like, why? I was like, well, aren't you not going to want to watch? She's like, I have my laptop. I'll just watch Netflix on my laptop.
Right.
You know, it's a different world. So
Right.
a show really is wherever you want it to be. You're showing up.
That's true. And I get to control it. I
Right.
get to, to control when I do it, and no one's telling me you got to show up at the studio.
Right. How long and all
Right.
that. That's great. Okay, before we go, we have to take a look at this beautiful cookbook, The Hidden Table by Shannon Smith, which is gorgeous. So you went
Thank
to
you.
12 countries. Or there's recipes from 12 countries in here?
I chose 12 places.
Okay.
Because there's 12 chapters. So there's 12 places. So one is the South America Andes Mountains. So that actually covered like four countries. But it's 12 places in the world, and I tell the stories. So it's a storybook and a recipe book. And I worked with Valerie Wayhaus, who's a local photographer. She and I have worked together 10 years. She did all the food photography.
Food is gorgeous.
Every dish was photographed in my living room in front of the window. And
Veal piccata for you. Going to Italy. Yum.
that book took 6 years to write. It was the most difficult thing I've ever done.
A labor of love, for
It really
sure.
was, but it's about many of the hidden tables around the world where I've cooked.
And this is a beautiful coffee table book, right? Just to have on your coffee table, it's gorgeous. I love it. Well, I can't wait to dive in and try some recipes. We're going to do our Sunday dinners off of The Hidden Table.
Thank you. And you can get it on my website, chefshannon.com. It's also on Amazon.
I can't wait. Well, I'm so happy to get to know you and just
you.
inspired by you. So
It's
thank
been
you
a
for being here
pleasure.
today and just sharing. And we're going to get on the books for some cooking. So I can't
Good.
wait.
Thank you so much, Deidre. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Do It My Way podcast. If you're wanting to build a personal brand, but you aren't sure where to start, I want you to book a discovery call with me at deidredetterman.com. I hope you are empowered today to do business on your terms with no regrets, hesitation, or fear. Again, head over to deidredetterman.com and click on Get a Quote.